kakayakakako and malo elele. Welcome to the WASSP committee meeting of Monday, June 15th, 2026. I'm your committee chair, Shane Sinensi. It is now 9:03 a.m. and mahalo members for taking the time this morning to attend the WASSP meeting. As a reminder for members of the public to please silence your cell phones or any noise-making devices. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, if you're not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today, and minors do not need to be identified. Also, please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Joining us this morning via virtual is Committee Vice Chair Gabe Johnson. Hello.
Good morning, Chair, Council members, community members. There's no testifiers in the Lanai District Office. I'm alone on my side of the office. Roxanne Marita might be coming in and out today. It feels like it's been a while since we met, so happy to see your smiling faces. I'm ready to work, Chair.
Mahalo. Thanks for joining us. Joining us from the council chambers, we have Council Member Kawanoi Batangan. Aloha.
Aloha kakayaka kako.
Welcome. Also joining us from the council chambers is Council Member Tom Cook. Aloha and good morning.
Aloha, good morning, Chair.
I see Chair Lee online. Aloha and malo elele.
Malo Elele, Chair, looking forward to your meeting. I'm home alone in my workspace with my little cat, Jill.
Mahalo and welcome, Jill. Also joining us from the council chambers, we have Member Tamara Polton. Aloha and good morning.
Aloha kakayaka and malo elele kako, streaming live and direct from the council chambers. Thank you.
Mahalo for being here. Member Rollins Fernandez will be joining us shortly. Also joining us in the chambers is, oh, you're here? Aloha and good morning.
Alone. Aloha. And I'll be joining you in the chambers in just a moment. I'm alone in my vehicle. Mahalo, Chair.
Thanks for jumping on. Also joining us this morning is Councilmember Yukile Sugimura. Aloha and good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
And also joining us this morning is Councilmember Nohe Uuhajans. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha, Chair. Aloha, everyone.
Thanks for being here. From the administration today, we have Director of Housing, Mr. Remy Mitchell. Aloha.
Aloha, Chair and council members.
From Corporation Counsel, we have Deputy Corporation Counsel Yukari Murakami. Aloha.
Aloha, good morning.
Morning. Also joining us is our WASSP committee staff. Welcome, everyone. Members, we have one item on today's agenda, Bill 77, 2026, the use of the Affordable Housing Fund for the county's houseless population. WASSP parent, WASSP 11. If there are no objections, I'd like to take testimony after receiving opening comments, as this is the only item on today's agenda.
No objection.
Thank you, members. Members, Bill 77's purpose is to require a portion of the Affordable Housing Fund to be used to systematically address housing needs and provide suitable living environments for county residents who are houseless. Members, the WASSP committee staff continues to follow recommendations listed in the Eco Northwest report. And one of those discussions has been the Department of Housing's involvement with housing our homeless residents. And although the Department of Human Concerns delivers the social programs that help the homeless, the physical aspect of creating spaces for the houseless would technically fall upon the Department of Housing, hence our discussion today. However, before Director Mitchell provides his opening comments, it is important to know that since June 1st, HUD has restructured their continuum of care funding for homeless-related service providers. According to the HUD's website, as the number of people living on the streets remains at crisis levels, HUD is committed to reforming its homelessness programs. The status quo of the Housing First model and home reduction has failed at great costs to those suffering on the streets and to working American taxpayers. HUD intends to rebalance the continuum of care program to focus on a diversity of solutions and treating the underlying causes of homelessness. HUD is thus increasing its investment in traditional housing, supportive services, and supportive service-only projects, such as street outreach, child care, outpatient addiction treatment, and job training. At this time, members, we will defer to Director Mitchell to provide us with his opening remarks and how the department can increase housing units for the unhoused.
Thank you, Chair Senensi. The department doesn't have any substantive opening remarks and looks forward to discussion on the proposed legislation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for being here. Okay, at this time, we'll take public testimony. Oral testimony via phone or video conference will be accepted. Testifiers wanting to provide video, audio testimony should sign up in the chamber, join the online meeting via the Teams link, or call in to the phone number noted on today's agenda. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking on the Raise Your Hand button. And for those calling in, please follow the prompts via phone, *5 to raise and lower your hand, and *6 to mute and unmute. Staff will add names to the testifier list in the order testifiers sign up or raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then enable your microphone and video and call the name that you're logged in under or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via the e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes. And so if you're still testifying beyond that time, I'll kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Please ensure that your name appears in Microsoft Teams as the name you prefer or be referred to as, or anonymous if you wish to testify anonymously. If you are in person, please notify staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of the testimony. Once you're done testifying, and if you do not wish to testify, you can view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. Again, mahalo for your cooperation in advance. Committee members, I'll now proceed with oral testimony.
Chair, the first individual signed up to testify is Lori J.
Good morning.
Good morning. I did not intend to be first. Hello. Whoa. Restart. Aloha, Chairman, Council, everyone out there. This is the 3rd time or so that I've testified in front of this committee. The last time was a year and a half ago about Pu'u Honu Onene, which I'm going to touch on in a moment. I'm going to be really brief. I usually talk through my heart and just let it rip because I'm very emotional about this situation that we're talking about today with Bill 77. I have notes, but I'm going to just use them as a go-by. Since the fires, I've been doing outreach with food, delivering food to encampments for about 10 months. Encampments to hotels, anywhere there were people in houses that was still up in Lahaina, dropping off on the way back down. I've been helping prepare them. I worked for Tent City for 7 months. I got contacted by the governor's office during the time I was there, and I ended up being a whistleblower. And I ended up getting fired because I was a whistleblower. And I'm very emotional about this subject because the people that are there, that were there, that are now not there, that are now placed all over the place, and they're over by Safeway on Paleo Road. And I see them almost every day because I bring up composed meals of food. I bring up Pop Tops, anything that I can get from people emptying their cupboards, the closets, anything. I've been unsheltered many, 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 many times all over this country. I'm from the East Coast, on steam grates, on beaches, in the District of Columbia, within sight of what happened yesterday. Anywhere there's humans, there's going to be homelessness. Anywhere and everywhere. And it's more here, we notice it because it's an island. I live in Wailuku, I see it every day. I drop off meals, I drop off whatever I can. A lot of people do it, but it's not enough. Because the money that we're spending on cleaning up the beaches and that we're spending on doing sweeps and sending trash mobiles and moving cars, and we could be spending to refurbish a couple of these places that are dormitories from different schools on this island. There are people across this nation that are making people unhomeless by providing a community for them, because a lot of them, what they really want is a community, most of them. We'll go back to being people, right? They become homeless for many reasons. Here I go. Okay, so look, we need to do something about it. And if we got people inside homes where we can actually, where they have a lock on the door, a refrigerator, a bathroom, the human dignity of that, okay? And I got all kinds of ideas. I'm going to close right there, but there's a lot of people that have all kinds of ideas.
Mahalo, Ms. J.
Thank you.
For your testimony this morning. Let me check if there's any questions for Ms. J. We have a question for you from Member Cook.
Thanks for your testimony. And I feel the emotional aspect of it. And I want people to know that resonates, okay? One of the challenges I have, I look forward to talking with you more. I see you often. One of the challenges I have, and because I get feedback from the general public, why is it being allowed? And the sort of the dirty, ugly, all of that aspect of it. And working collaboratively together to create spaces for people to go, and then also finding a way that people are inspired and if not made to cooperate. So
Inspired would be better. Go
no,
ahead.
I agree. I'd love to inspire. So anyway, I just want to, my clarifying question is ways that we can continue to work forward, and let's continue the conversation. So.
I am no longer employed because I speak the truth. I am very available because all I'm doing right now is helping nonprofits fulfill the needs of these people. So I was hoping talking with the governor's staff would do something 2 years ago, and it didn't. And so I want to see this happen.
So thank you. Your testimony is heard and
Mr.
appreciated.
Cook, thank you.
Mahalo, Ms. J, for your testimony. One more question from Member Bolton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. J, for your testimony. I just wanted to clarify when you said you want to see this happen. The bill before us is to use affordable housing funds to create housing for the unsheltered, and that's what you're saying you want to see happen.
Exactly, precisely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question from Member Sugimura.
First, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing, and I can tell it's from your love and compassion. So basically, you are supportive of having kauhales.
There's a lot of different ways to look at housing. There are some of these people that would do best with a group situation in a kahale area on someone's land, let's say, where they are surviving and they are being together as a group. There are places that are taking old hotels and turning them into kahales. You kind of got it, Harbor Lights. You've got apartments that are like their own little kahales. There's 8 or 10 of them over there, people from Tent City and other places, because I go up to Cut Mountain too.
So can I ask you?
Whatever we have already should be used first. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So can I ask you another question, because you have been employed, sounds like, and have interacted. So often we hear that homeless do not want to go into housing, which is what this bill is about. So do you have an opinion about that?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. A good portion of the people that are houseless, homeless, in their cars are Kanaka. They're from here. Some of them don't want to be housed because they are, for whatever reason, one of them killed himself because he had cancer and he pulled up by the, there's so many different reasons why people are unhoused. And if you look at each single person, I would say probably about 10% need to go into like a dual diagnosis facility. We don't have any here. We have one treatment area, but there's nothing. I had to escort somebody over to Oahu to do that. We need more of that for those people. But what I see after talking to people, and I literally ask them, what do you want? What do you need right now? What would make a difference in your life right now? A lot of them are, it's a shower, their own shower, a locked door, you know, things that would get them off the street. A lot of them are not drug-addled and alcoholics, very clear-eyed people. The people that need to go home, they need to go home to a different, wherever they're from, if they just came here to escape. And that way, I'm not from here, but I'm here 25 years, and I feel like I am from here. We just need to take care of our people, and a lot of those people that are homeless, and I see that too, but it needs to be like a sorting hat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, Ms. J.
Anything
Any other
else?
questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony this morning. Staff?
Chair, there is currently no one else who has signed up to testify. Would you like me to issue a final call?
Sure.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know, or on Microsoft Teams, please raise your hand. Oh, Chair, an individual is wanting to come down. Would the individual please identify themselves?
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Council. Good morning, Director. Nice to see you. My name is Lisa Darcy. I am the founder of Share Your Mana. I am currently on the Hawaii Public Housing Authority Board as well. I come here to speak on behalf of Share Your Mana. And the previous dialogue, I wish, Director, that you had given a little bit of background, because this isn't necessarily my wheelhouse, although what is determined in this bill will become our wheelhouse. So I don't necessarily understand all the language, or first of all, changing from homeless to houseless is, thank you, that is a big deal. And it is a really big deal in Maui. When I moved here, I didn't know about the overthrow. I didn't learn about the history of the colonialization of this area and the people here. That has become integral in certainly my learning curve in the work that I am doing for anybody here. So I just want to say thank you for those language changes, because it is extremely meaningful. And I don't have a lot of time to go into that. However, it's really important. One of the issues that I want to speak to, which was just brought up by the previous testifier, is when you make these changes, they're going to trickle down. And I think that we're really interested is how does it trickle down? And that testifier, homeless don't want to go into housing. And I know you all are hearing that, and you hear that from people. And I've never once met anyone who doesn't want to get into safety or shelter. Never. Because I'm trained in how to approach people's needs. And let me tell you, the individuals who you're talking with, they know what's going on. A lot of people, have been in abusive relationships with certain agencies. And certain agencies, certain staff are not well-trained and have not worked with people very well. And they don't want to work with that agency again. So they'll just say they don't want housing because they just want to end the conversation because they don't want to deal with that person. That's a really, really important piece in this whole mix. So how the monies get dispersed or where they go is really important because those relationships are vital for people to move forward. Another reason is a lot of these already existing programs are designed to fail all this group of people, and they know that, so they self-select out. They're like, I'm going to go in, I've only got 44 days, so why am I going to go in? Because they're just going to kick me out again. And that happens all the time. So that's where I want to see some of these appropriations go, to new and invigorated individuals who have the skill set, who can actually engage this group and know how to engage the group. And the individuals want skin in the game. Local people want to drive their own recovery. They want to drive their own safety. And if they don't have an opportunity to do that, if someone just comes up to you and says, this is what we've got, you've got to take it, they don't want to be a part of that. The other thing is, there are so many varied needs that aren't met. I'm really hoping that these changes, I have so much more I wanted to say, include those varied needs. The Kauhale concept is fabulous, but it can't be just dropped in from outer space or Oahu. They're the same. If it's not built and developed here, the governor can have all the great ideas he wants, but if the people here are not putting in and it just gets plopped down, and agencies from Oahu come, it's great for the brochure, but you're never going to solve what Maui needs. So while the Kauhale concept is fantastic, I always wanted to, get the old Sports Authority and let's make a dorm there or things like that. I've been coming here for 20 years, so if you don't know the suggestions that we have, then you don't want to know, and that's a burden of the county. So. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing more, Director, so thank you for being here, and I hope we get a chance to work together. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Ms. Darcy. We've got a couple questions from Member Paulton and then Member Sugimura.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Darcy, for your testimony. I just wanted to clarify because what this bill is about is using affordable funds for the housing, like the physical structures, whereas what you seem to be testifying on is more of like the programs and the support. You're saying that the housing in and of itself is not the solution.
So this is exactly where the rubber meets the road, Councilmember. Thank you for bringing it. We can't have more programs that are just doing the exact same thing and are designed that way. So what Share Your Mana is saying is we want to actually have an impact on the way they're designed. So we need to appropriate money for new designs. And that's really important, and to not just keep dropping down.
And to clarify,
the way we used
you're
to
not
do it.
talking about design of the structure, you're talking about design of the program.
Both, absolutely the design of the structure.
And to also clarify, so we can't have this conversation with just the Department of Housing, but we also need to have Department of Human Concerns, because housing isn't the one that will do the programs or the design of a program. Is that kind of what you're saying?
You are hitting absolutely years and years and years of problems on the head right now, is that they're not connected, and they're not connecting. And we have tried to work with housing, we've tried to work with human concerns when it was together, and elevate these to the point where they get to the level where they can be implemented. For example, Tent City, what a disastrous design. And we had no ability to impact that, even though I tried. And it was very problematic design-wise, physically.
Have you had an opportunity to see how Kauai does it with their Lima Ola program?
No, no. I have worked with one of their council members years ago, but I haven't been over there, no.
Okay, I had an opportunity to visit it, and it seemed really good. Maybe if you could Google it and see if that's along the lines, because it's a lot easier for us to kind of take the framework of something than start from scratch.
Yeah, I do. I agree with the previous testifier that we actually do have the capacity. Maui can actually do it, but Maui seems to think that we don't have anybody competent to do this. But I think the competent people have never been given a chance to be competent. I love, give me the chance to fail.
Thank you.
Next, we have Member Yukile Sugimura.
Yeah, I was going to ask you something similar because it's program versus structure, right? And the community aspect of it. But what is 44 days? In your earlier part of your testimony, you referenced 44 days.
I literally do not know the exact number of days, but Haleakala, I know, has a certain, like, they're only funded, and many programs are only funded, certainly for if you're in addiction recovery, you only have a certain number of days to get better. Can you imagine if you went into the hospital, you have cancer, and they say, oh, you only have 12 days of this, of chemo, but your body needs 40 days. That's the funding aspect of it. These are not disconnected. For some reason or another, Maui disconnected these two concepts. They cannot be disconnected if you actually want this to have progress. That's what we've been trying to say all these years. You can't disconnect them. You can't compartmentalize them.
Thank you.
They need to influence each other.
Okay, mahalo. Ms. Darcy, I had a follow-up question. You mentioned plopping up these kauhale projects. The state oftentimes doesn't have, they're utilizing the state property. The Tent City property is right on Hana Highway across of the airport. Mm-hmm. You feel that is, when talking about design, is that location?
The location and the physical design, to me, I think there are an enormous amount of things that I would definitely say that the people that I know that would want to go into, they would absolutely change. You can drive by and see that the one that has all glass. It's like the meeting room. I haven't actually been on it yet, and again, I tried to ask to be a part of design and I've never been invited into any of that. But can you imagine how hot that is? It's glass all over, and here you've got people who have got very significant emotional challenges from what they've been through. And it's like putting somebody in a fishbowl. Like, that just seems like, can you imagine you have glass all around so people driving to the airport can see you? I mean, how invasive is that? That's just bizarre to me. And yet, again, we didn't, and how much did the individuals get a chance to say, yeah, this is, they're not going to speak up and say this is a problem because they're desperate for a place to stay. And when you're desperate, you suck up a lot of crap that nobody in here would ever deal with. And you don't have to, right? Because you can buy your way out of somewhere else. You can afford it. But when you can't afford it, you got to take people's bunk and plopping down.
Mahalo, Ms. Darcy. Okay, seeing no more questions, thank you for their testimony this morning.
Mahalo plenty.
Staff?
Chair, there is currently no one else who has signed up left to testify. Seeing an individual wanting to testify, please come on.
Hi, I just want to say before I start, I'm disabled, and maybe as a reasonable accommodation, I might take a little bit longer than the 3 minutes because of my need for oxygen.
Okay, can you state your name,
Okay.
please?
Yeah. My name is Hadassah Voss, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to hear us. And what I want to talk about is my great concern. Lisa touched upon this a little bit about just the disconnect between housing and and human concerns, and then the bills or the contracts that get created, say, between affordable housing providers and the County of Maui. And what I'd like to address today is the fact that I was homeless and I got housed at Kaulana Mahina. And as you all know, this was a really big to-do in our community, that we had this very giant development that was going to help house homeless people, or, you know, just low income, indigent, you know, HUD, everything. And it was obviously such a blessing. However, I found out that there were some things going on. For example, there is a contract between the owners of Kaulana Mahina, Legacy Partners, with the County of Maui, that states that if you are part of the affordable housing units, which is 60% of the 324 units, it's supposed to come with a free parking spot. And that is not being done. And I was told that if I wanted to park my car as a disabled person on property, I would need to pay $85 a month. For someone that's on SSI disability, which is under $1,000 a month, that is close to 10% of my income. And that is not feasible. I can't afford medicine. I can't afford food. And I tried to report this discrimination to the Kaulana Mahina staff, and I had a property manager for the first year there who was phenomenal. She was so representative of the Aloha spirit. It was like living in a timeshare. It was so beautiful. There were wonderful leasing agents. It was this community that was so supportive of our culture, of our people, and it was wonderful. And I reported to her my experience with that and my concern. She did a little bit of research, and she tried to advocate for me as well as anyone else that was being affected by this, and she got fired. And they ended up bringing a haole in from the mainland, from California. His name is Chris Wolf, and he's now our property manager. And not only did he try to force me to pay, I had to end up doing a reasonable accommodation for my disability because, you know, I need my car close to my unit to be able to function. And we tested him to see if he would try to charge me the $85 as a reasonable accommodation, because that's illegal to do. And he did. And we got that all documented. And I tried to report him. I didn't know his last name at first. I tried to get his last name. He refused to give it to me. I asked for his boss, corporate. I wanted to call somebody to report what was going on. He refused to give it to me. Anyway, I have been struggling with them, and I tried to report this discrimination. And very soon after, 2 days after I reported this discrimination and I recorded it, I was given a termination of my lease letter, which of course is retaliation. And that's also illegal. And so I'm going to tell you more about kind of what's going on, but the reason why I'm telling you about this is because my great concern is that we can throw a bunch of money, we can create all these housing environments, but if the people their rights are not supported once they get housed and they actually exercise their rights and they're retaliated against for doing so, we have to come up with the ability to create the accountability where, for example, I reported to HUD, I said that contract between County of Maui and Legacy Partners is in your office. Can you please sanction them? Because they're pulling in up to $200,000 a year off these parking spaces, and they're taking it from people like myself who are disabled, people who are single mothers, people who are indigent, people who are low income. And Graystar, which is the property manager, they are a $78 billion company. I have documented all of this, and they don't care, and they're not changing it. And they want me to be gone from the property so that they can continue on with what's going on there.
Thank you, Ms. Savas, for your testimony. Let me check if there's any questions for you. We have a question for you from Member Bolton.
I was wondering if the contract that you were saying that requires them to give folks the free parking that is with the county, do you have a copy of that, or do you have some place that where we could access it? That project is the reason why I push for all free parking on all the affordable projects, because I've had so many complaints about the extras that are charged to those people, the people that live there, and then the water bill, which, you know, some people only have one person and they're being charged like as though
$85
they
a
have,
month.
yeah. So I was wondering, like, I mean, I would love to dive deeper into it. It seemed shady at the time to me that they were charging everyone for the first stall of parking, especially with it having a lot of fast track opportunities. I didn't vote for that project. But, you know, and I've received many complaints about that place.
Yeah.
So if you could get us some of that documentation, I would love to look into it, because it's not right what you're saying.
Absolutely, and I will do what I can to get you a copy. I do know that it's within the Department of Human Concerns. They obviously have a copy of it, and so I'm assuming you guys would all have access to it because it's a contract with the County of Maui.
So it's a contract with Department of Human Concerns.
Well, it says County of Maui, so specifically who that is, I am not sure. But what I was told by that former property manager is that Graystar actually had a meeting with the owners, and that was back in July, and they decided that it would be more profitable to continue charging the $85 a month to all these affordable housing units and get caught and pay the fine than to honor their contract. And I think this is, you know, just obviously, you know, I'm here today because we elected you guys to protect, you know, us as people, as humans, as citizens of this, you know, country. And
just to clarify, this is the Linda Schatz Kaulana Mahina project that you're referring to.
I'm not sure who this person is. I think you said Linda Schatz. It's the Kaulana Mahina property in Wailuku.
Right across Foodland.
I think
Yes. Yes, and I will say this just because it's gotten pretty intense. I think it's important to add this. About a week after I was given that termination of my lease letter, I ended up being hospitalized. I had a complication with a procedure that I had done in the hospital. And I have since been hospitalized about 45 days in critical care since that point, December, February, March, and April. On April 12th, I was released for the last time out of critical care. On April 25th, 2026, that was the end of my lease. So I ended up having to get a reasonable accommodation request from my doctor saying she will need a month-to-month lease extension until we can get her to, you know, not only a new place, but just a safer place. This is obviously a very dangerous place for me because I'm now getting death threats. And I have been told that they don't recognize my reasonable accommodation request. That literally says if I am not housed due to my dependence upon electricity for my oxygen, for my ventilator, as well as my medicine needs to be refrigerated, it would be fatal for me. And they have written me a letter saying, we consider you a holdover, we're not taking your rent, and you were given plenty of time to move out. So I'm just letting you know it's far worse than even just the parking.
Was there a reason in the termination letter that, like, pointed to some other, they just straight termination letter?
They said we have the right to terminate your lease at the end of the year, and we wish you the best. And for no reason whatsoever, but they also know legally that they can't do it out of retaliation. Unfortunately, I have the recording of me reporting the discrimination and them saying, not only are we not going to take your report of discrimination, we're going to serve you with a notice. And I thought it was going to be a 10-day notice. I didn't know what for, but I thought it was going to be a 10-day notice. And 2 days later, I got the termination of lease letter.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mitchell and I will try to get that copy of that contract.
Yeah, and I can give you my contact information so that I have a letter from the hospital, you know, saying how many days I've been hospitalized in critical care. I have the reasonable accommodation request from my doctor stating that it would be fatal for me not to be housed. And I have the termination of lease letter. So just anything you need, I can provide you with.
Thank you.
We have a question for you, Member Sugimura.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So did you contact anybody besides the property manager? Like, did you call the County of Maui or anybody?
I did get in touch with HUD because I found out they can sanction the housing providers, and I did speak with Gail Ramboa, if I'm saying her name correctly, and from my understanding, she's so nice and they've been so helpful. I think they're so concerned with losing housing, affordable housing, that they are very hesitant to hold these developers or landlords or property managers accountable. But I feel like it needs to happen because, like I said, when it's gotten to the point where they're willing to throw out a disabled person and have them, fatally injured just to protect their ability to violate the law and their rights for profit, I don't know what we're doing here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Savas.
Yeah,
And you'll provide your information.
absolutely. Who should I give that to?
Staff.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Staff, do we have one more testifier?
Chair, the next person up to testify is Lala Johnson.
Aloha, Ms. Johnson. She's online.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, mahalo. Before I start, I just wanted to ask if I can still have 30 seconds just in case it goes over like from the last meeting that we had. Just asking, in case I go over just a little bit. I don't think I used all the 30 seconds from the last meeting I had with Wai'ehu. So I just was putting that note out. Okay, so I go ahead and start. Aloha Chair and Council members, Olala Johnson Ko'inoa of Wai'ehu and advocate for houseless community. I strongly support Bill 77, which would require a portion of the Affordable Housing Fund to be used to address the housing needs of our county's houseless population. The housing crisis of Maui did not begin with the Lahaina fires, but the disaster exposed and intensified a crisis that has already existed. Today, many families remain displaced, living in temporary situations, doubling up with relatives, living in vehicles, or struggling to secure stable housing in a market that has become increasingly unattainable for local residents. During recent discussions regarding the use of county funds for land acquisition for Lower Wai'ehu Beach Road, many community members asked what public benefit would ultimately be achieved. Bill 77 raises a similar question. How can public resources be used to address one of the most urgent needs facing Maui residents today? Homelessness and housing insecurity. While open space funds may have limitations, the county should be equally committed to identifying land and resources for community-based housing and pu'uhonua-style refuge spaces, where local residents can access safety, stability, culture connection, and support services. If we can acquire land for preservation, we should also be willing to explore every lawful avenue available to create places of refuge for our houseless neighbors. As someone who works with youth and families in our community, I have witnessed the direct impact housing instability has on youth, children, parents, and also the kupunas. Many people experiencing homelessness are not strangers to our community. They are lifelong Maui residents, Kanaka families, elders, workers, and individuals who have simply been priced out of the place they call home. Having experienced the Kuhimana sweep in 2021, I understand firsthand the uncertainty and instability that many houseless families face when there are few safe alternatives available. While sweeps may move people from one location to another, they do not address the root causes of homelessness. My experience reinforced the importance of creating places where individuals and families can safely stabilize, access services, maintain community connections, and work toward permanent housing. I urge the committee to ensure that Affordable Housing Fund resources prioritize. I have a list and I'm going to send it in with my testimony. But as a Kanaka Maoli advocate, I also ask that housing initiatives respect cultural practices, ancestral connections to place, and the importance of Malama Aina. The goal should not simply be to provide shelter, but to create environments where people can heal, reconnect, and thrive. The success of our community should not be measured solely by new developments or economic growth, but by how we care for those who are struggling the most. Bill 77 represents an opportunity to invest directly in the people of Maui County and to affirm that everyone deserves a safe place to live. I respectfully urge the committee to pass Bill 77. Mahalo for your consideration.
Mahalo, Ms. Johnson, for your testimony. Members, any questions for Ms. Johnson? Seeing none, welcome Member Rollins Fernandez.
Aloha. Aloha, Ms. Johnson.
Aloha.
Chair, there is currently no one else who has signed up or left to testify. Would you like me to issue a last call?
Yes, please.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know, or on Microsoft Teams, please raise your hand. This is the final call. 3, 2, 1. Chair, it appears that nobody wishes to testify.
Members, any objections to closing oral testimony for this item at this time? Mahalo, members. Okay, we can go ahead and proceed with our agenda item. Before I would like to open the floor for questions and comments. Each member will have 3 minutes for the first round, and then we can go as long as we need to. Prior to that, real quickly, Bill 77 adds the definition for houseless, and under Section 4 of Section 3.35.030, it directs the Housing Director to appropriate a portion of the Affordable Housing Fund for residents who are houseless. Okay, we'll start with Committee Vice Chair, and then we'll go to Member Bolton.
I had a question for you before we go into the discussion.
Sure.
Just that it looks like you drafted this bill.
Yes, with staff, yep.
And I was wondering if you could, like how we have the bills introduced, like I was wondering if you could share with us your vision of how you envision it working.
Of course. Thank you, Member Polton. So again, as I stated earlier, we've been working and following some of the recommendations of the Eco Northwest report. And one of those recommendations was to provide different options for housing. Also in our meetings, the HUD guide, the changes to the HUD guidelines have come up. And because we have the continuum of care that the department, and I apologize, we didn't invite Director Willis this morning, but because of also the new HUD guidelines, it looks like they're shifting away from the housing first model and looking to invest into more transitional housing. And so we wanted to, and we'll continue to address that. The other thing was that we did meet with Housing Director Reversi from Kauai, as you had mentioned, with your recommendation. And so Kauai has been doing some great things about housing their houseless community by creating kind of these small villages, almost like plantation villages for their houseless communities. They've since had to increase density on some of their zoning in order to do that. So that was something that the department was pursuing. We did work with or have a discussion with Director Mitchell about dealing with the physical aspects of increasing more housing for our houseless. As you know, Kahaleakiola, West Maui had burnt down, so we weren't sure on how do we increase shelter space for our houseless population. As you know, you've all been getting the emails about the increasing numbers of houseless on our streets, and you heard from our testifiers. So we're looking to increase. How do we increase the number to house? Not necessarily, but more for like transitional, and kind of work with the new changes that are coming down from the federal government.
And I don't know if you or somebody else could clarify. Like, I know sometimes in federal terminology, housing first or transitional housing doesn't mean what I think it means in my head. And could you or someone explain the difference between federal housing first and federal transitional housing? Like, what are the changes that we're encountering that require us to take these steps? Or
it looks like they're shifting a lot of the investments under the continuum of care, and we can send that correspondence to Director Willis.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
then,
I didn't mean to jump ahead of the line on the questions.
and then we'll and looking towards more transitional housing opportunities. So I'm hoping that this could be an opportunity for the department to maybe apply for these new types of HUD funding that they're going to be shifting, and it looks like it just came down on June 1st. These HUD changes.
Okay, thanks. I'll wait my turn for everything else. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the line. I just wanted to see your vision.
Mahalo. Member Johnson, for your opportunity.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Chair. And thank you for bringing this to the committee. It's really important work you chose to take on, and I appreciate that. Director Mitchell, thank you for joining us today. I wish we did have Director Willis here. This is an important part of the discussion. I think it would be valuable to have her here, but I'll jump right in. So in 2022, I wrote Bill 61 about expanding the uses of the Affordable Housing Fund. And, this council at the time passed it, and I'm happy that we expand the use. One of the terms in there, it says the council make appropriations from the Affordable Housing Fund for the provision, protection, and expansion of affordable housing and suitable living environments. Director Mitchell, that suitable living environments is in the code. How does that work with this new kind of movement towards transitional housing? Wouldn't that cover? Wouldn't we be able to use Affordable Housing Fund for that if it's considered, transitional?
Director.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Johnson, for the question. I've always interpreted that phrase to be completely expansive and inclusive, and so the language in Bill 77, in my opinion, could be interpreted as redundant, but its specificity, I sense, is being desired so that there's no confusion about the policy intent.
I appreciate a lot of the parts that is in the bill about defining what houseless means and what the AMIs are and all of that. I appreciate that, but I just was saying, like, what's stopping you now, your department now, or us pushing forward more for transitional housing? If you remember, this past budget, I put in $4.5 million for transitional housing for women helping women. So, what say you, Director?
There's nothing, thank you for the question, Chair and Member Johnson. There's nothing stopping the department, and the monies that have been over successive budget cycles put into the department's budget to assist with transitional housing has been used. The way I'm interpreting Bill 77 is to address more concertedly the actual development of the physical structures.
Now, I'm limited on time, so go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm living on time, so I just wanted to say, I totally support islands of affordability, little places where we do have affordable housing, peppered in market rate areas. We don't want to have concentrated houseless folks in concentrated areas of poverty. Then you get like mainland ghettos. I really support low barrier entry into these kind of transitional homes. Sometimes people won't go in them. Ms. Darcy talked about it, how these barriers become almost like a soft incarceration. A lot of people come from prison and you go into one of these places and it feels like prison. There's quiet hours, there's lights out at certain times. That pushes people away. So when we're considering moving forward, I would like just to think about those types of things from those types of folks. So that's my time, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo, Councilmember Johnson. Next, we have Member Batangan, and we can just go down the road for your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. So from the bill itself, I don't see what will differentiate the proposed new transitional housing from the existing homeless shelters. We each get daily vacancy reports that show that there are constantly multiple vacancies available. So I guess I'm trying to understand what differentiates the proposal before us from what currently exists, and like how does this fill an unmet need?
I think bringing it up, considering these new administrative rules, this would be an opportunity for the county to apply for this new type of funding. Leaving it to the state, again, as some of the testifiers said, the state would only use it for where they have state properties. And currently the tent city is, as we heard, is not a very good.
But I guess I don't understand how the legislation before us would change our ability to go apply for new federal funding. I see a disconnect between the proposal as written and what you're describing the intent of the bills should be. Can you explain what the legislative vehicle before us changes to allow for the county to go after this new funding?
Oh, got it. Well, this just using the Affordable Housing Fund could increase more structures. Again, we didn't invite Director Willis because she deals with the continuum of care. This is more of the physical aspects. And to your point, we get those reports, and those reports, I haven't seen a lot of, compared to the people that are on the streets and the beds that are available, we're seeing an increase of people on the streets versus.
Correct. And I guess that's what I'm trying to understand, in the legislation that's before us, because I see vacancies at our shelters. Now there's a proposal to create additional shelters, and I don't understand from the bill itself what the difference between our existing shelters are and what's being proposed. I guess that was part of it. But rather than go circular at that point, can I shift to the department? So Director Mitchell, you've repeatedly told this council not to appropriate funds from the Affordable Housing Fund. You have your RFP process. You want the department to handle all allocations from there. In the last budget cycle, about 99.8% of it was earmarked by your office. So if the bill passes today, which requires that there be a percentage of the Affordable Housing Fund dedicated for this new purpose, upon effect of the bill, how do you intend to comply, given that there is no unencumbered funding in the Affordable Housing Fund?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Thank you for the question, Member Batangan. The department has not asked the council to not appropriate funds from the Affordable Housing Fund. That is uniquely within the council's power. The process that the department has implemented was designed to create a vetting process where we find projects that are ready to build and can use the funds when they are appropriated in the budgets. But to go to your core question, how would the department attempt to implement Bill 77 should it be adopted? The direct answer is to be very specific in an RFP process, perhaps where there are bonus points given to responders to include transitional affordable housing units in their proposals, or alternatively, to issue RFPs specifically to appropriately sized and located county-owned lots for development for the express purpose of houseless sheltering, so that we can move the needle forward with additional bed space. But then that raises the question of the need for the bed space. When this particular bill was dropped, that was the first time the Department of Housing had an opportunity, when it was agendized, to actually read the bill. So we didn't discuss the bill substantively beforehand with Councilmember Sinensi. But my first reaction was, I need to understand statistically the gap between usage and need, so that we understand not only the amount of need, but where the need is by district. We've done some preliminary review of the data, and it's very clear that there are some key hotspots where there is need. Central Maui is one, Lahaina is another, South Maui is another, but Central Maui by far has, in terms of the need, the greatest needs, but trying to understand the gap between bed usage and need is what we're zeroed in on now, so that in the event there is an RFP similar to the second variation I just described to you, where we would issue it specific to a particular county-owned lot, it's also close to programming. The other part that I'd like to address, if I could, with your question is really important, and I'm picking up on something Ms. Darcy said, and that is, we cannot issue an RFP for a development type, particularly if we're proposing the type, unless we understand the programming needs. We have to work hand in hand with Department of Human Concerns. We have to work with those who are in the community working with the houseless to understand what those wraparound services are that are needed, and they vary, and what it means programmatically for a design. Because once you do that, then you can understand what it is the RFP is asking responders to design. So and this is following up on something Member Sinensi said, with the bifurcation and the separation of the program side from the development side, there's going to need to be a greater effort if we issue RFPs to develop, with working with the two departments to ensure the programming and the actual RFP for design and build makes sense. Thank you.
Good, okay. Mahalo, Member Batangan. Next, we have Member Sugimura for your opportunity.
With your response, it makes me even, this is even more important. But I believe that what is missing from this discussion is the Department of Human Concerns. Because if you're saying, I think what I just got is, if you're saying in order to develop an RFP to even implement this, you need to have the total picture with working with the human concerns. So, Chair, I don't know what you're going to end up doing today, but I would prefer that before we had any decisions, can we please have the Director of Human Concerns here so that we can have, or whoever the designated person is from that department, so that we can have a comprehensive picture of what the Department of Housing is trying to implement with the programmatic implementation to create the RFP. I think that's such important combinations of what needs to happen. So thank you for explaining that.
Okay, Director, okay. Next, we have Member Polton.
I did see Charlie had her hand up. I'm not sure if she has to leave or something, or she didn't.
My apologies. Chair Lee, go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you, Member Paulton and Chair. Yeah, I do have to leave. I just got a call that I have to return. I too am feeling that we need more information. You know, as a former housing director and human concerns as well, our goal was to increase inventory in the past. And so what we tried to do was increase capacity at the Central Maui Kahaleakiola. We built the West Maui Resource Center. We were in the process of building a resource center in South Maui. So I think the goal then and the goal today should be the same, that increase inventory, because the shelters, generally, the resource centers, take in people and they have wraparound services. When you have individualized projects, you don't necessarily have them. You might have visiting caregivers, but that's not the same. And then my other concern about this proposal is that it takes away from the housing, regular housing, workforce housing, low-income housing. And I feel that, without a specific project, I don't think we should be creating a savings account for this program. I think that there's sufficient carryover savings every single year to take in anything a project that comes in after the budget has been completed. But people have like 6 months, to lobby the administration to be included in their budget. And if that doesn't work, they have another 3 or 4 months to lobby the council to be included in our changes to the budget. So I think this has good intentions, but for me, I'm not ready to vote on something like this. Thank you.
Mahalo, Chair Lee, for your comments. Next, we'll have Member Polton, followed by Member Rollins-Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. I had thought I heard Director Mitchell say that the Affordable Housing Fund can be broadly used for this currently anyway. So I'm okay voting for it. I mean, basically, it will just define in the code our county definition of houselessness. That being said, if we were to vote on it and it becomes part of the code by next month or something, I'm not ready to expend the funds until we have that design of what it is that we're doing. But the code change, I don't have a problem with. I think also, I didn't hear what Member Batangan's question is, but I think I got the gist that if there's shelter openings, why are we doing this? But in using transitional housing, the shelter openings they try not to keep them in the shelter, right? I mean, you don't want to live permanently in a shelter. You want to transition into some place where you pay rent and things like that. And that's kind of what I saw on Kauai. They have the intake where, if you take someone off the street, and then they have the end, workforce and affordable housing, so people can see where they want to get to, so and even the process, I mean, it may be good if we're going to design what a county's transitional or shelter would look like, because some of the things that I've heard from folks is a shelter won't even take you until you've been houseless, sleeping on the street. They can't take you straight from being evicted or whatever unless somebody from the county, the director, calls or something like that. We had some FEMA folks that were evicted and they were elderly, and so we're can you just please take her straight in? Otherwise, they're going to be cut mountain or something. But if it feels like we need to learn the process of sheltering as it is with our partner agencies, whether it's Family Life or Kahaleakiola or Catholic Charities or whomever it is, because what is said on paper doesn't always match the experiences of folks. And I don't think we even understand what is said on paper, the procedures after the fire, during COVID. Every time I tried to call for folks to get people in, there were a lot of barriers until I called the director and have the director get them in. So it's not like you can just get in easily. So I think all of those things need to come into play, and then definitely have Director Willis or somebody who from the homeless division about how a county managed or run or RFP'd one would be different from the existing ones. Like for me, I wouldn't like to see a family spend one night in their car or on the street before being able to offer them housing. Like that doesn't seem like a good plan. Like what if something traumatic happens in that one night on the street and then you're overcoming so much more than you would have if they could have been evicted right into a shelter? So that's just some of my input. I don't got problems with the code change, but if we're gonna spend the money, we really need to develop that design and how it would work, or if we're gonna RFP it out, like the parameters of things.
Mahalo, Member Paulton. I think the process that you're speaking to also involves the Maui Homeless Alliance. And so those are some of the things that we've been talking about in committee about the certification letter that the state does. There's the database that people can access to see who's homeless or who's not, and those databases are not open to the public. It's only a certain agencies that have access to. So if people want to access those databases, it's like you mentioned, it's not so easily accessible. It's only guarded by a few agencies. So we can bring up those as a request of the director and the department. Next, we have Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. And mahalo for continuing to try to be creative in ways that we can address this. Like Member Paulton, I could vote today, but I can also not vote today and continue conversation as my colleagues need, especially with having Department of Human Concerns here. I did look up the updates to HUD, the HUD funding, and I can share them if you'd like. The June 1st, 2026 funding guidance restructures the $4.4 billion COC national competition to focus on underlying causes of homelessness. Key updates include funding priorities, increased federal investment in transitional housing, street outreach, childcare, outpatient addiction treatment, and job training. Deprioritizing housing first, moving away from the status quo of housing first and harm reduction programs that do not mandate treatment participation. Rebalancing solutions, focusing on COC programs to a diversity of solutions, and then time constraints. The NOFO was published by June 1st with application awards expected by December 1st of this year. So those are some, sorry if you already went over those. The bill itself, when consulting with the community, was there a preference for houseless or like unhoused?
Thank you for that question, Member Rollins Fernandez. We were going to work closely with the Kauai Housing Department and follow some of their successful programs.
Oh, I just mean the word. The word houseless versus the word unhoused.
Oh, yeah, I'm supportive
Oh, okay.
of that addition.
Oh, Director Mitchell.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez, and I appreciate you reading out the new HUD guidelines. The department hasn't reviewed those guidelines, but I just wanted to highlight that, consistent with, I think, a concern raised by Member Paulton, one has to be careful about a model that has a barrier to entry. And if we're pursuing funding that we don't yet understand may or may not have certain barriers to entry, we should just be conscious of that, because it sounds like in moving away from the housing first model, where you're not focused on you must have a mandated treatment, you must participate in this program, instead of moving away from a system where you get housing regardless of the need, and then you get the wraparound services, there's a movement towards a program and funding where you must participate in certain programming to get the housing. I think we just need to be conscious, if that's what we're pursuing, what that means for the community. Thank you.
Mahalo, Director Mitchell. That section was alarming to me as well. So mahalo for emphasizing that. What I was going to say, and I'll just say it, I know I heard the buzzer, but that, I know we're all aware of this, but I'll just say this out loud, that not everyone unhoused is going through the same experience. And so we cannot treat them with one approach. There's different approaches for everyone. But I agree 100% about there being barriers to entry and mandating. That's how we push people away. Director?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Rollins-Fernandez. And the other point I'd like to emphasize is that I'm sensitive to the use of the word transition, because not everyone who is houseless is transitioning to something. There are those who might be houseless because of a disability or other condition for which they need permanent housing. And the notion that the funding path is you have to transition to something, but there's nothing to transition to. You need permanent supportive services is also missing the point. So I'm very cautious with the language usage, because I don't know if we really mean to say everyone who's houseless needs to transition to something. Thank you.
Great point, and I appreciate you making that. I have more points, but I'll wait for Roland too. Mahalo, Chair.
Mahalo, Member Rollins-Fernandez. Next we have Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this up. I think my question was answered by my colleague about the HUD changes, and I also find it alarming, the change from the Housing First model, which was enabling to assist people to get into a safe, lockable, sanitary environment, and then that being part of their transition for health and lifestyle, as opposed to expecting that to occur first, which simply didn't work before and doesn't seem very realistic. Question: county properties. The administration has been documenting all the county properties for a lot of things, fire mitigation, et cetera. From your experience as the director now, have they relayed to you? Do you have insights into properties that may be suitable for this? And also, if I may, I heard the concerns of the testifiers, and then my concern with what I hear from my constituents. I think it is really important that the design of this, we want it to be successful. So the placement and the integration, and the clarification of what it is, and I'm hoping in South Maui we can do this. I'm very, very supportive. We can find the land, et cetera, because it's sad. There's too many people living on the streets, and they need a safe, dignified place to go to, and just telling them they can't be somewhere isn't palatable at all. County property is my question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Cook, for the question. So the department has developed a list of county properties that it sees as initially our target properties to develop. We developed that list separately from the many lists of county properties we received when the department first began in July 1, 2024. I asked for lists of county properties so I could figure out what was developable, but those lists were not itemized in a way that were useful because they sometimes included very small parcels that were only usable for utilities or parcels that were really meant for road widening. So it's really hard to figure out in these very different and large lists what is usable for housing purposes. I'm very focused on not just the notion of housing for those who are houseless, but integrating things like the courts system for diversion programs and the police department system for diversion programs as well as separate treatment facilities. So it's not just a unit that has a door, a bathroom, and a fridge, but it's a unit that has proximity to services, or within it, the development has services, so that we avoid a dynamic of criminalizing unnecessarily those who are houseless and simply need assistance. With respect to South Maui, as I indicated earlier on, as I've looked at the Bridging the Gap documents and map produced by Family Life Center to figure out where the needs are, it's very clear to me the concentration of need is in Central Maui, and then secondarily West Maui and South Maui, in order to really concentrate where we can provide assistance. So I think we can get there. But we have to do it as two departments, because the Department of Housing is on the building side, Human Concerns is on the programming side. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, mahalo. Member Hodgins for your opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. I understand that this is just really codifying what exists in our bill right now. And then I understand to your point, Director Mitchell, why we really haven't seen it, because right now the affordable housing funds are overprescribed. That's why you guys have a vetting process. That's why it's, it comes to us quite full, and we have a discussion about where it continues to go. So I understand. Before I really begin my questions, I'm gonna say I agree with the sorting hat concept. I like that. We're gonna have to figure out how to get some Harry Potter hats here. You already got the voice, Director Mitchell. We're like halfway there. The accent. So if we start, and it doesn't, we're not providing an amount to be used in our unsheltered population. We're just saying, we understand it's there, please use it, and let us know what you use it on. I get that. But if we're gonna be using this money to provide the physical structures, what are we gonna reprioritize, and this question is for you, Chair, are we gonna prioritize the monies that are used currently for more of our programmatic efforts, and then this is going to be used strictly for physical structures in the, what we currently use in the human concerns aspect? Yeah.
Yeah, and as I mentioned with the Kauai model, they're not huge projects. They're just these small little plantation models that have 20 units or more, like a community within a community. But so it's not to, take millions of dollars out of the fund to create this massive project. It's just, and I think Director, the lowest AMI in the affordable housing is from 0% to 50%, if I'm not mistaken. So it already addresses people without incomes.
Okay. Thank you for that. That actually kind of goes into my next question for Director Mitchell. So at least I was looking at the HHFTC affordable rent guidelines, and it starts at 30%. I'm not too sure if there's any information from the 0 to 20, but it does start at 30. 30% of the median income for a studio is $777. And if this is in 2.96, that means we would have to implement these rental guidelines. How would that work for you folks? How do you see this, doing this actually and partnering with human concerns?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Hodgins. I'm not going to forget your question, but I have to respond to a couple of things that I've heard shared just as background.
Okay.
You may recall 2 budget cycles ago,
yes,
when the department submitted its budget, we chose to focus our projects on the lowest AMIs.
Yep.
And I said, as a policy matter, I thought the department should really focus its first round on preventing houselessness. Council expressed some preference for high AMI, and we shifted that for our second round of the RFP for the Affordable Housing Fund.
Yep.
Now we're, again, moving a little bit and saying, okay, but include houselessness as well as a very clear focus of the Affordable Housing Fund. The department will do that should this bill pass, but the department is going to do it anyway because our goal is to increase housing units across the spectrum. That's one thing. The second thing is I've been to the Lima Ola project at least 3 times.
Okay.
And we have to look at the development of transitional housing on the Lima Ola project in Kauai in context. There's Kapuna housing there. There's a community center there. There's rental housing. There's for sale. It's a large development that, because of its size, was able to subsidize significantly the development of transitional housing. And they're just very discrete units all together in one location on the site. I've intentionally gone there so I can understand the model. I'm not saying it's a bad model, it's an effective model, but that project took many years to develop before it even broke ground. And my colleague, Adam Reversi, clearly I think he's been at Kauai for 6 years now, inherited that after it was already started, right? So there's a runway to get a project of that magnitude built. The last thing, more specific to your question.
Yes.
The HHFTC affordable housing pricing guidelines are slightly different because they have different regulations to follow than the counties.
Yes.
But we will work.
We use this as reference.
Correct. If there is some funding stream that goes through HHFTC, we will work with their requirements in order to facilitate the provision of housing.
Okay. I have more questions, but I heard the bell. Thank you.
Mahalo, Member Uuhajens. For our second round, Member Johnson, you can start off for yours. Oh, sorry. Did anybody need a break? Yes, please. Okay, let's hold off, Member Johnson, and we'll take a 10-minute break. The WASSP committee is now in recess until 10:40. Aloha and welcome back to the WASSP Committee meeting of Monday, June 15, 2026. It is now 10:46. Mahalo, members, for that quick break. We're on continue our discussions, and so if members had any questions for second round, I did see Committee Vice Chair Johnson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just state for the record, I would support moving this forward today out of committee, but I know some members might have, other opinions. I'm open to everything. I'm open to discussing this. I'm open to doing actually something. So let's move over to Director Mitchell. Director Mitchell, when we talk about transitional housing, when we talk about the folks that are really needing these types of homes, can you tell us what the department has done specifically to address this issue as it stands now? Give us something that you've been working on this year. Give us something, just some hope.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Johnson. So, as you know, Member Johnson, there is annually appropriations made by the Council to the Department of Housing to assist with transitional housing, supportive rental assistance, and the like, to ensure those who are at risk of houselessness have funds available to them. And so we do have several programs that fill the gap on the funding side for housing needs. The proposal today is a little different. Bill 77 is actively asking that we develop units. And so I'm supportive of developing units and look forward to moving forward with a reasoned plan, understanding both, as I've said earlier, both the current usage and the gap between the actual need, and understanding how we can not just provide existing programming, but more comprehensive programming. I alluded to a number of programs that I'm very familiar with as a former King County Housing Authority Commissioner for over 10 years in Washington State, where those programs worked closely with the courts, they worked closely with the police department, they served as diversionary programs, and the different facilities that supported different needs. That's a very different set of activities than the Department of Housing and Human Concern in the past, or the Department of Housing in the last 2 years has engaged in, and that's going to require us working closely with our houseless community partners. So I'm answering in two ways. One, we have appropriations that we're using to fill the need for rental assistance and the like, and two, we're looking forward to moving forward with developing houseless housing. Thank you.
So, I support wraparound services for these types of homes, and it sounds like you do as well. So we always want to fund those guys that are doing that kind of work. And as you know, or maybe you've heard, that getting the grants out has been a bit of a struggle for this administration, for those folks that are doing that particular kind of work. So it's always a concern I have. Let's get that money out and rolling to help the nonprofits that are doing this kind of work. I went on a business tour. I visited Helsinki, Finland, for the one country in the world to solve their homeless issue. Is that my bell already?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear it online, just to let you know. So okay. I'll just end it if you allow, Chair. The housing first model is what they did, and you can't do housing first model if there isn't any housing. So I really appreciate the idea that you're developing units. I would recommend or suggest you look at some of the units on a Minute list for West and South Maui, because since you mentioned that those are a big need, you could purchase up some of those units, move forward, everybody wins. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo Committee Vice Chair Johnson. Any need for a second round by a show of hands? Member Batangan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So, Director, in conversations with other members, you discussed how we don't just need transitional housing. There's a need for long-term or permanent housing. So, are you envisioning that the department's going to be creating long-term or permanent housing?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Batangan, for the question. Short answer is yes, but more specifically, I was focused on the use of the phrase transitional housing. because it's coded language.
I understand.
Okay.
So I guess then my question to you would be, do you intend to manage that, but these long-term or permanent housing units? Or is the department's plan to contract out those kind of services through an agreement with like a Halimaholu or somebody?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Tonga, for the question. The answer would be the latter. The department is not staffed and equipped to directly manage facilities, and we would work with a partner, a nonprofit partner. Thank you.
Okay. And then back to the question on implementation that I mentioned earlier. So subsection C reads that the Director of Housing must ensure, subject to appropriations, that a portion of the fund is used each fiscal year for the provision of suitable living environments for residents who are houseless as defined by section 2.96020. So earlier in the conversation with the members, there had been expressed an openness to passing this bill now, but not expending any funds. But if there is a requirement that funds be expended, how do you intend to implement?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Tongan. And thank you for bringing up Section 4 of the bill, which amends Section 3.35030 of the County Code. Before I answer your question, I did identify some concerns with that language because the word ensure can be read as a guarantee. And then the language says that a portion of the fund is used each fiscal year. And my recommendation is that if the bill moves forward, that the language be softened to reflect that it would be endeavored to use or issue RFPs as needed to provide the development of appropriate houseless shelters. If there is no appropriation, now I'm getting to the second part of your question. If there is no appropriation, then the department doesn't currently have, as we go into fiscal year 27, funds identified for a mandate of this sort. So one would need to come back in for a budget amendment.
Just, can I ask for one last question? And if he has to respond in writing, so be it. But are there any other portions of the bill in which you had concerns?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Tongan. No, that is the only area where I was concerned about the language.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Anyone else? Member Polton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Mitchell. I just wanted to acknowledge what she said about Lima Ola, that was years and years in the making, and Director Reversi came in with the project already started. But the sooner we start, then the faster we'll get there. I acknowledge that it will take us years to try and get it as right as they got it, because although their framework is good, it's specific to Kauai and Kauai population, and we would be making ours specific to the area that we're designing it for. I did want to point out that when they built their first successful houseless sheltering, and it was a success, and just the county wanted to replicate it in other areas of Kauai, they got significant pushback until they invited those folks to check out the successful one that they had, because I guess what they were envisioning when the words came out was something quite different than what actually happened. So I want to recognize the method of the Kauai director not to push something through their throats, but rather invite them to see the success so that they then wanted that program in their community. But if we don't start now, then we'll be further years behind. So I understand it will take years to try and achieve some similar measure of success that Kauai is achieving right now, but I think we need to start like we needed to start 10 years ago. But it's kind of ironic that we separated housing and human concerns only to try and smush you guys back together and hold hands and work together. But it is what it is. Thank you.
Director.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Paulton. While there wasn't a question there, I will take an opportunity to point out the department intends to move forward aggressively with the evaluation of a 100-plus acre parcel in South Kihei, affectionately called the Kihei Police Station parcel, because that provides an opportunity to swing for the fences and set in motion a development that meets a variety of needs. And it will take some time, but we intend to push on that. And so the very first phase of the RFP will be just the physical evaluation of the land itself for pre-development. But I see that of a similar scope and size as the Laima Olaport project, because one can have a lot of different communities' needs served, including those that are houseless. Thank you.
Hello, Director. Go ahead, Member Hodgins.
Thank you. I have a quick question for you, and then I'll ask my other questions. I don't necessarily have a problem right now, but I would like to hear from Director of Human Concerns as well, since we do have to, like Member Paulton said, kind of meld it together. Is that your plan, or what is your plan for this bill right now?
I'm hearing that same request from the other members, so we'll probably defer today and then invite the Director Willis to come and join us.
Okay, I'll have more questions for her when she comes to join us. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Director Mitchell, so do you envision, you said you see this as requesting the Department of Housing to develop units and do an RFP. Do you currently do an RFP for the affordable housing, or do people come to us and solicit money?
Thank you for the chair question, and Member Hodgins. In response to Member Batangan's question, how I would approach implementing it should the bill be approved, I indicated that I would approach it through the issuance of an RFP. Prior to July 1, 2024, there wasn't an established practice for several years of the Department of Housing and Human Concerns issuing an RFP in October, November of the year preceding the department's requirement to submit a budget in order to have a list of projects that were fully vetted included in the department's budget proposal. So we instituted that in order to have a better sense of the evaluation of the projects and ensuring their usage of the Affordable Housing Fund would be within the fiscal year. And so I suggested earlier that one of the things I'm envisioning doing is adding as additional bonus points for subsequent issuances of RFPs, the provision of houseless sheltering in projects, because that way I'm nudging the private community to think more broadly about their projects.
That was kind of more my question. If we are going to be actively soliciting people to come and partner with us, I hear you.
And then the second part is we can separately do it for county lots and say, no, we're asking you now to partner specifically on county land.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Do you mind sharing the list that you folks have compiled that shows the potential for county properties to be developed for housing?
I don't mind, and we will share it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I guess then, when we were doing the budget 2 years ago and we saw a lot of like light tech funding projects, for me, I did have a sticking point with that because it was like on paper money until February. And we keep it on our budget for about 10 months. But I understand the targeted AMI portion of that. And then this is a gap group. The one that we're talking about now, Bill 77, is a gap group we haven't really served. Just like the higher AMI is a gap group we haven't really served. So I am going to be interested in not necessarily your guys' scoring sheet. I don't want to necessarily see everybody's individual scoring sheet, but how you would, I guess, review the projects, as you said, when you do add bonus points for this, because we have other gap groups that aren't being addressed as well. You don't have to answer that now, because that was not only this, but something else. But thank you, Chair. I understand we're going to have this conversation again, so I'll hold some of my questions.
Mahalo for your questions, Member
You do
Uwajins.
want to address it now.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Uwajins. I can't resist the urge to respond. I'll have to train myself to. What has become abundantly clear to me is, notwithstanding the vigorousness of our process, what the department will do and needs to do going forward is spend time with each council member before we drop our budget to explain where we are and explain what we've done. And that will take some of the mystery out of the process and perhaps obviate the need to see every document all the time of everything we've done. But I was very clear with our team that when we put the evaluating committee together, it would not be an evaluating committee of everyone in my department. It would be a mix of individuals who had former development experience outside of county government, ideally former directors of departments that are relevant, people who have experience on some professional area that affects development, and maybe a person or two within the county, so that we can, but not my department, so that we can have a really good, vigorous committee. And that process is working. And we're taking any notion of internal departmental politics out of it, and ideally producing projects in our budget that have a really good chance of using the affordable housing funds. But again, I'm going to tweak it a bit so that before we drop our budget, we'll spend time with each of you.
Thank you. And I too probably have the same issue you do. I also cannot help but respond. I did have a meeting with HHFDC the other week, and then I was talking to them about their timeline for their budget and how it doesn't really align with ours and how we have money in the budget just sitting there. And we're going to continue to have meetings. So I'll loop you into those. Thank you.
Member Paulton, Member Rollins Fernandez, Chunkin Po.
Mine was just a efficiency point. I don't have any problems with the amendments that Director Mitchell suggested. I don't know if anyone else does, but when you bring back Director Willis, if we can have like maybe Corp Council incorporate those into the bill. I mean, I don't know. They don't like straw polling, so I wouldn't ask if anyone else has problems with Director Mitchell's amendments, but I don't.
Okay, thank you, Member Paulton. Staff will get that note. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. I also don't have any problems with Director Mitchell's recommendations. Happy to incorporate those. When we take this up again and we invite Director Willis, can we also invite Director Molitao from OEV Department?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. I think that was it for today.
Okay.
Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, members. Director?
Chair, if I may request that we consider some of our House's community advocates to talk about not the existing shelters, but the gap between the usage and those who are currently unsheltered. So we really have a good sense of that. The data points are all over the place, and I've been trying to quickly get my hands around the data points, but to understand the gap in the need and then the particular services needed, because it can range from just simple assistance with being houseless to medical needs, to psychological needs, to physical disability needs. There's a whole range of different needs, and we really have to hear it from the advocates too. Thank you.
Mahalo, Director. I agree. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Okay, Mahalo, Chair. And then would you be able to meet with our resource folks, the department directors, and some of the folks that Director recommended before we take this bill up again in committee?
Yes.
Can, Hiki?
Yeah.
Okay, mahalo.
We'll have a whole series of, the the committee will focus on this for the next couple months.
Okay, but if you could also do some work offline and then bring the recommendations that you folks come up with together outside of our committee meetings, so that when you come to our committee meeting, everything's been worked on and all the parties have had an opportunity to review and are on the same page, and then it's easier for us to get on the same page and then just support your recommendations.
We'll do our best. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Mahalo, Chair.
Member Polton.
In you guys' discussions, I think you kind of foreshadowed already about how Kauai has kind of increased density. And for me, we just created a new zoning for hotels. I have no problem creating a new zoning for housing, for transitional or unsheltered, or for long-term, or whatever you want to call it, especially if it's like county lands, focusing on including 0 to 30% or whatever. So in you guys' discussions, if that seems like something that would be necessary, like a different zoning and what the criteria is, it will take longer because it would have to go to the planning commission and whatnot. But same kind of situation where if the faster we start, the less longer it'll take. And I don't know if it should only apply to county lands or only apply to those reaching out to the 0 to 30 or 0 to 50% AMI group. But I also wanted to indicate I'm open to creating a zoning category that would allow us for, less setbacks between units if we're doing like Kauhale style or just the different things that housing project of this type in the way it differs from like single family home, R1, R2, R3, because we're trying to do something completely different than what those zoning categories were meant for. Also open to enabling that or whatever you want to call it.
Director.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member Bolton. I do have some initial reactions. I'd like to just save those reactions and meet with my colleagues in the planning department as well, so that we're thoughtful in our response, but I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you.
And that was Director Reversi's recommendations as well. Yeah. Member Rollins-Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. I also have an initial reaction.
Go ahead.
Maybe it's like maybe we could also explore like a 100-year conditional use permit for public lands. And then that way, I think it would take less time in changing the zoning, the code, if we just jump right in and just do a, conditional use permit for that. And then, we just do them instead of talking about doing them. Okay, Mahalo, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great discussion, members. Mahalo for all of your mana'o. One of the Eco Northwest recommendations or criticisms was how we operate when it comes to homelessness, where everybody's operating in their individual silos. And so for us, we've been trying to meet with everyone and break down some of these silos. And so, as I mentioned, we've met with Kauai, we've met with Director Mitchell. We're gonna invite Director Willis to the next meeting, and so and also Director Molitao. But so for the next couple meetings, we're gonna be kind of on this topic. June 29th, we'll be bringing up the director and the department for their safe parking program. So we'll have more discussion for safe parking come June 29th. Yeah. We did have a correction from staff about the continuum of care, the HUD funding. So I guess the previous administration had the $4 billion, 90% of the continuum of care. funding. The current administration brought it down to 30%, and then Congress has proposed to bring it back up to 60%. So right now, it's still kind of in the air, but we did want to share that information with everybody, get you the correct information. With that, staff, is there anything else before we adjourn this meeting?
Just your recommendation on the item, Chair.
Any objections to deferring this item? Mahalo, members, and again, mahalo for your insight. Mahalo, everybody online, for joining. Mahalo, our testifiers, for providing that important, your experience was very helpful. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to mahalo you, both for putting this bill together, but also for allowing us the time and space to discuss it and digest it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you deferring and bringing it back with more resources, and for the body to have additional time to understand what's being proposed. Thank
Mahalo
you,
for
Chair.
staying. Director, any closing remarks?
Thank you, Chair. I think Member Batongan said it well. Thank you.
Okay, with that, members, the WASSP Committee meeting of Monday, June 15th is now adjourned.